Hey everyone, Stephen Kirkpatrick with Executive Speakers on Speakers, special Zoomcast edition. A lot going on here, but the best thing is I've got my man Sterling Hawkins in studio with me, post-COVID in studio. How exciting is this?
It's so great to be here. I was just saying, this is the first podcast I've done in person in years.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first in-person thing we've done since COVID, so I'm super stoked to have you here. So,
Me too.
Sterling is a break the status quo to create what's actually possible for people and companies in our time. He spent his life coming back from the brink of selling companies. He's finished ultra marathons, and he helps companies get results.
No matter what.
There we go. We did
what.
not even rehearse that. It just happened. Like, that's how together we are. It just happened out of nowhere. Sterling has a TED Talk that has over 100,000 views, 106,000 to be right, correct? 106,000 views. He also has a book coming out called
Hunting Discomfort. Smooth, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Amazing graphic design. I highly recommend the person that did it. Sterling can give you their number if you want him to. Biggest thing is Sterling does a great job of getting with companies and figuring out how they can achieve growth, overcome any kind of obstacle, as well as add market share.
Absolutely.
Improve corporate culture.
It's about growth regardless of the circumstances. No matter what the world throws at us, how can we continue to grow and reach our targets? And those are both financial targets and personal targets for everybody that's working with the company.
One of the coolest things that you do is the extreme stuff. I mean, it's like...
It sounds cool. It doesn't always feel cool doing it. I can tell you that.
I mean, I think you're incredibly insane for doing them. And that's why I like to hear about them and not do them. But it's okay. So you've got this thing down in Peru. I mean, so audience out there. So Sterling takes these
adventures.
Okay, adventures. Okay, adventures. Havel, is that cool? Like adventures? Like okay, adventures. Okay, he takes these adventures to these far off places and hangs out with I don't know. I'm going to stop talking. You explain it. I will make fun of you for doing it. How does that sound? Okay.
Fair enough. Well, what we do is, the core of it is that we found that where you meet discomfort anywhere helps you handle it better everywhere. There's some really cool research out of University of Michigan that shows that biologically and in our brains, no matter where the discomfort's coming from, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, you could even throw spiritual in there, we handle it about the same way. So much so, if you've got emotional discomfort, let's say you lost your job or your girlfriend broke up with you or you're in tough emotional times, you can take Advil to feel better.
Okay.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't suggest that, but that was really the impetus of going after and doing some of these really crazy adventure things, because we realized as we can find discomfort out in the world, shark diving, skydiving, trekking the Sahara, riding a bike across the Rockies, the better we're going to get at dealing with it everywhere. It's a way to future-proof ourselves, and at a company level, how you can future-proof a company.
Or you die and get eaten by a shark, and you don't have to worry about discomfort anymore because
you're
dead.
Well, there is a big difference between discomfort and danger.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. No. And this is important.
It's very important.
This is important. We got to draw this line. So talk to me about that.
So
where is that line?
A couple of years ago, Haviland, who's my sister, I wouldn't be doing this.
Haviland's here.
She's right over here.
Yeah, she's over here. So if you hear a voice of reason come out, it's not God, it's Haviland. Okay?
That's right. So a couple of years ago, it was her birthday. She goes, "We've got to go skydiving." And being the no matter what guy, I can't say no.
You can.
Right.
I'm going to give you permission to say that you can say no to things.
Steven said. That's what I'm going to use with you from now on. Yeah. Steven said I don't have to go.
100%. You could say no.
But it's one of those things that I'd always wanted to do, was always fearful of.
Right.
And you get to this place.
Yes. Jumping out of a plane. Yes. You should be fearful of that.
Well, and they make it worse because you have to sign 18 things saying that if you die, it's not their fault. So much so you've got to get on camera and say, I'm doing this of my own accord.
Wait, what? We have to get on camera?
On camera. And at that point, I'm
not being forced to do this.
Wait a minute. This is now it's making me scared. And you get up in this plane, I'm like, this is nuts.
Were you scared, or were you just like, that's good, no big deal?
I was more scared coming down.
Yeah. It's the build up and leaving the plane that was the worst for me. And it was incredible. As soon as you leave the plane, everything left me, all the fear left me, and you just kind of take in the almost the grandeur of the world. It's an incredible perspective to just be falling through the sky. And I did some research afterwards, And it's incredibly unlikely to die skydiving. As scary as it is, and it's terrifying, you've got a better chance of, this is a very morose conversation,
It's okay.
right?
It's okay.
There's
It's
a better
okay.
chance you
It's
could
where we're
die
going.
from a biscuit thing or a car accident or like all these other things. And skydiving is much, much, much below that.
Interesting.
And so for companies and for people, like where we see discomfort or feel discomfort is often not aligned with what's actually dangerous for us as a person or as a company. And it's reconciling those things that is a lot of the power in hunting discomfort.
That's really interesting. I mean, the fact you say a bee sting is, I'm allergic to bees. Shocker. I sound like the biggest wuss right now. I don't want to skydive. I'm allergic to bees. It's like, who? Oh. Yeah, I was like, I'll do something one day. Kind of crazy. But that's crazy. Like you wouldn't think that.
Exactly.
But I think it's really interesting how you had an experience and you were so drawn to that experience. It caused you to research and kind of broaden your understanding of, hey, like, am I really doing something?
Right.
But I want to go back to the Peru thing of it. And specifically, like, what was your objective? Like, why Peru? And what was your objective? What were you hoping to accomplish?
Well, I think just generally there's a lot of things we can learn from indigenous groups.
Okay.
Maybe discounted by Western science and medicine and everything else. And it's not like I'm going to go down there and write a book on the indigenous tribes of Peru.
Sure.
But I'm like, there's something we can learn from them. And maybe I can grab a couple of things for the book or from some of their teachings or learn for myself. And I found a group down there called the Shipibo, facilitated by a retreat called the Temple of the Way of Light. It's not religious or anything like that.
Sure.
Even though the name kind of sounds that way. And we spent 2 weeks, over 2 weeks in the Amazon, in the middle of nowhere, no power, no internet, no running water even, with this tribe, learning from them, learning what they eat, how they look at the world, how they consider things, and going through some of the spiritual practices that they have down there. And it was profound. And I can't tell you how grateful I was for running water and internet when I got back.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, one of the chapters in your book about forming your own street gang.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting about those indigenous tribes in Peru, and I don't know them as well as you do, but I mean, I'm kind of guessing is, they still very much live in it's a communal setting.
Very much.
Like they are together. They do all of life together.
Yeah.
And they depend upon each other for survival and for protection and things like
literally
that.
survival.
Yes, literally. It's like, hey, if you don't go, catch fish, or if you don't go and, kill something whenever you're hunting, or, however they get their sustenance, like we're going to starve tonight.
Yeah.
And so, I'm curious how you see that translating into kind of, corporate culture. And again, like, the growth mindset that you try and bring into people of, hey, this is how we grow.
Yeah. Well, for them, in a lot of cases, as you point out, it is life and death, right? If they don't do things a certain way and take care of each other a certain way, they won't be around. Their tribe won't be around. Their culture won't be around. And in companies, we've taken a step back from that, right? If you don't perform at your job, it's not like your life is literally at risk. Now, you might lose your job,
Sure,
but it's a totally different level. And I think there's a lot of complacency that's been incorporated in not all workplaces, but many workplaces because of that. Because there's this safety net where you can protect yourself with information and knowledge and all social media, and maybe distract yourself with all these different wonders of the modern world that we have here, without realizing that, hey, others are depending on us, like really are depending on us. And it might not be life and death. Like you're still going to get food and water, and you're going to have a roof over your head for many of us, gratefully. But that doesn't mean you can't put your all into something.
Yeah, that's good. So I want to kind of hit on your story a little bit, and kind of how you got into all this.
It has been a saga, I will tell you that.
Yeah, and we're going to unpack all of it here on the Dr. Phil Show.
You're right.
That made Karen laugh. Yeah. Karen's here too. We've got there's like 85 people in the studio.
It's like a live audience.
Yeah, it is. All right, so you were a third generation grocer?
Fifth generation grocer.
That was not my show notes, Haviland. Come on. Made me look stupid. Fifth generation grocer.
Right. And grew up in the store. Like as 5 years old, like I'm passing out cookies.
Like that's so awesome. Like
it was a blast.
That's really cool. Okay, so, and then you came up with this amazing idea. So I'm just gonna cede the spotlight to you, so you can talk about this idea that you came up with.
Well, maybe it's because I was young or because I had grown up in a family business, but I really was attached to all the things that I thought I knew about the world and my identity and how all these pieces fit together. And so coming out of school, I did what anybody that's kind of a know-it-all would do. I was like, I'm going to start my own company.
Love it.
Partnered up with my dad, and we started a retail software company. And guess who our first customer was?
Apple.
Our family store. Close.
Family store.
Right. One level
Amazon.
down from Apple. Right. Long story short, we end up selling it to a group in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And it becomes part of what was essentially Apple Pay before Apple Pay.
Okay. So let's back up. So
Yeah.
where did you get because this is a novel idea.
Yeah.
Like, where did it come from? Like, where did you get your inspiration for it?
Yeah. Well, that company, it was a biometrics company.
Okay.
Tying your fingerprint to your what's called an electronic wallet.
Yep.
Right. Your credit cards, loyalty cards, all the things that you need in your wallet.
Now, was there a loyalty program at your family store?
Yes. In fact, fun fact. It was the first grocery loyalty program in the U.S. back in the early 90s. It was my dad that launched it.
Stud.
Right? and what we built was actually a very sophisticated marketing engine that became a piece of some of the algorithms and tools that they use for the biometric company.
All big words, all sound great. Keep rolling.
Right. Well, people looked at this. This is early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
And people would look at how this system worked, and it was a little fingerprint sensor next to the credit card terminal. So you didn't even need your phone. And they'd be like, wow, that's the future.
Interesting.
How do we get involved with this?
Yeah.
And long story short, we end up raising over $550 million.
Wow.
Multi-billion-dollar valuation. This is early 2000s where there's very few companies at that kind of valuation.
Wow.
700 people, offices all over the world. I mean, it really felt like, hey, I do know it all. Like, I got this thing handled. I'm going to buy an island, a private jet, and I'm going to start my second company, and that one's going to be a huge success too. But it didn't end up that way.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You would buy the island before the private jet instead of the...
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah, we would probably leave that to Haviland over here.
Haviland,
What's the best business investment?
private jet or island? Here's
Private
okay,
jet
listen,
first,
from a
okay.
practical standpoint, how are you going to get to the island if you don't have a private jet? There we go.
Done.
Done. You got it. You can't buy it at the. Okay. I guess if you have an American Express
You could
black
go
card,
yacht. I'm not opposed to a yacht.
Okay, yeah, you can go yacht. You could. Okay.
To the yacht, to the private island.
Yeah.
Okay, private jet to the yacht to the private island. I love how we're spending your money here.
Right.
It's like going just one after the other. It's like, oh my god.
No matter what's been very successful. We've got to sell a lot of copies
Yeah.
of these.
Private jet to. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But it didn't go that
Wait,
direction.
hold on.
Yeah.
What if we did helicopter to the yacht where you could land it on the yacht and take the helicopter from the yacht to the private island?
I think that's it.
All right, I think that's it. Sorry, continue on
Yeah.
with your story. All right, we've got the world's problems figured out on that.
We've got to bring Steven on board the company planning. Will you join our board?
Yes, I will.
We do adventures,
That might be where we lose him.
Hey, my adventure consists. Hey, if we have an adventure that goes the helicopter to the yacht to the private island, I'm in. That's my speed. Okay, yeah.
Right. Well, it was really kind of living that life for a while. And it was almost like a scene out of Wolf of Wall Street, right? Where there's models in the office and parties at the Four Seasons and flying first class and private. And like, I am sure that it's just a matter of time until we're going to go public and cash in on this.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be a but.
Always got to be a
Story
but.
like that,
Always
right?
got to be a but.
The housing market collapsed. We made some missteps in the business. And when the housing market collapsed, our investment dried up.
Oh, man.
All $500 million gone. This is a time where I think I know what I'm doing, and I'm looking at news stories daily on the TV, on the front page of the newspaper. People are texting me. Those days, to text somebody, you had to press the same key like 3 times in a row. And they're sending me these long messages of like, Sterling, tell you in the news again. I'm so sorry. What happened? I'm like, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate that.
Was that back when text like cost money? So people were like actually having
Probably,
like people were like having to pay to like.
Yeah, they're like, we got 160 characters. Make them count.
Yeah.
And, you know, at that time, I was so attached to my view of the world, my identity, how I thought business was done, what I thought success looked like. I was so attached to those things that when the company crashed, so did I.
Yeah.
Not only did I no longer have a job, but eventually I run out of cash. I go from this big, beautiful penthouse in downtown San Francisco. I'll never forget, like floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the Bay Bridge. It was gorgeous, to my parents' house, which is not a good look in your 30s. And just to make sure I was firmly grounded in rock bottom, my girlfriend breaks up with me. It's like a depressing country song. It's like I'm hitting every single beat of this thing.
I think you missed your calling as a country singer, because I mean that's your number one single right there.
We should have somebody make a song out of it. That would be hilarious.
I mean, like literally, like it's got all the makings of a good country song.
Yeah.
I don't write country music.
We could find somebody that writes country music. We'll just make a spoof song of it.
Like I just do hip hop. Sorry. So
yeah.
So let me just so I need to stop here.
Yeah.
In number one, just acknowledge like, dude, I'm sorry. Like that's I just like, just hearing that, just like on a human level, it's like, oh my gosh. Because I mean, for those of y'all who don't know, I mean, like Sterling and I've known each other for a while. Like he's a really, really good dude, and it's just kind of one of those things that you just don't wish that on people, because I mean it's totally tough. And
it was really dark days for a while. I made light of it, but it was awful for many, many months.
But I mean, I think that one of the things, I mean, like, I think, and I guess what I'm seeing is it's like, number one, like, I mean, we've been through a pandemic the past 2 years. I think a lot of people have had, maybe not to the extent that you did, but have felt some kind of loss, that uncertainty that, oh my God, like everything I have is like drying up or is changing. And again, and it's like the moment where it's like a dark day, you're at your parents' house, like sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
But you come to a moment like a fork in the road when you got to make a decision. So talk to me about that decision you made and kind of where you went from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think your point's a very good one. And it's a lot of the things I speak about from the stage where I dealt with the unknown and the uncertainty in a massive way. But we all deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Even tomorrow is not guaranteed for anybody at any level. Right? And then, as you say, we've got the pandemic, tech disruption, civil unrest, global instability, misinformation, right? Supply chain shortages, labor problems. Like there are
Amber
lot
Heard, Johnny
of problems.
Depp. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Most importantly, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
There we go.
And it's, how do we confront those things and not be victimized by them?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that first night at my parents' house. And I'll never forget staring at the ceiling because I can't sleep.
No.
Right? I'm in
How could you? Yeah.
In over 6 figures of personal debt at this point because I put everything into that company and more. And I make this declaration to myself. I say, no matter the obstacles, no matter this failure, no matter the uncertainty, no matter what, I'm going to make an impact with my life. I will do something no matter what. And that was really the beginning of building myself back.
Love it.
And I look back on that moment, and it was awful for me. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, certainly. But I'm grateful for that moment because it connected me with something deeper in myself that's not connected to any circumstances in the world.
Yeah.
And when people and companies get connected to that kind of power, there's nothing that can stop them.
Yeah.
So today we're building no matter what companies.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, that's great. And like you said, it's a, I mean, using a cliche, I mean, it's coming from the school of hard knocks.
Totally.
Like I said, it's kind of, it's not something you can learn. It's not something you read in a book. It's something you got to experience. But again, I think it's really cool that, again, you were able to kind of come to your lowest point and come to a place that's like, hey, I'm going to use this to help other people. And, in your...
Well, it didn't start there. It started like, how can I just dig myself out of this hole?
Well, but I think eventually you got there. But I think it's also cool too that it's like you kind of found your path out. Not so much of things like, hey, like I'm going to come around with like the next big idea for $1 billion valuation company, but it's more like, you know what? No, like I'm going to take this to help companies and other people, and through that, that's how I'm going to get myself, off my parents' couch and back out into the world.
Yeah. Well, it was actually something that my mom used to say when I was a kid that came back to me during those tough times, and she said a lot of funny things. She still does. She says things like, it's cheaper to milk a cow than buy one. Like, what?
Wait, what?
It's cheaper to milk a cow than buy one. I'm still not totally clear on what that means. And
Like, what context would she use that in? I'm curious.
I don't even recall. Do you? It's just the phrases. Or don't take any wooden nickels. Have you heard that one?
No.
Well,
Alex, you heard that one?
she's
Okay. Okay.
she had like all these sayings, and the one that came back to me and all of a sudden made sense is she said the way out is through. It's actually Robert Frost, but to me it's always going to be my mom. Like she's the one I hear saying that when I recall the quote in my head. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to make an impact, if I'm going to do anything from this dark place, the way out is through. And that's been so central to everything we've done ever since. In fact, that's entirely what the book is about.
Yeah.
Like, how do we move through some of the most challenging things out in the world and inside of ourselves to achieve a breakthrough that's maybe even beyond something you can see as possible right now?
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I think it's amazing that you're open about kind of your failures are hard luck and lessons to be learned. So, I mean, if you could go back to, I guess, kind of the situation, the housing bust and stuff like that, I mean, just from a business perspective, like, is there anything you would have done differently?
There are many, many things. I mean, when I was kind of thrown into the unknown, it felt like it happened very quick. You know, it was over a period of months that things started to degrade, and then you start seeing the writing on the wall. But it felt like one day, like I was just thrown into the unknown and all the fear, anger, and grief that went with it. You know, fear about what happens when you're involved with losing $500 million of other people's money. A lot of lawyers involved. We can get into that over drinks later if you like. Anger about like all these things that I could have, should have, wished I had done differently. And grief, I don't know if anybody that's listening to us has ever lost a company, but it was like a piece of me died. And well, there are many, many things that I would have changed. I'm grateful that things happened exactly the way they did because we're here now.
We're here now.
We get to be on the ESB podcast. I've made it.
And there's nothing better than that. That's nothing better than that. So let's talk about the book really quick.
Yeah.
Hunting Discomfort. Why that title? I mean, we've talked around it, but specifically, why that title? Why hunting? Why discomfort?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't wish discomfort on anybody.
Okay.
You know, what I went through, what anybody's dealing with, the challenges that the pandemic's imposing on people, like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I don't want it for anybody. But at the same time, as in the book we'll prove out through case studies and historical research and brain science, there's something about discomfort that helps us grow as people, grow as companies, and arguably, I would say, is necessary for growth. And when you can harness that and find it, use discomfort as kind of a divining rod of where you can find success, breakthroughs, the results that you're looking for, that's when you start to achieve things that you really want to achieve.
That's cool.
That's why hunting. That's why discomfort.
Yeah, I like it. And again, you know, it's kind of paradox. Like people wouldn't think you want to go hunt discomfort or go hunt that's something that's not easy, but it makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about my favorite chapter really quick.
Yeah, please.
Getting a tattoo.
Uh-huh.
So one of the chapters.
I still need to get a tattoo, by the way. A physical tattoo.
Talk to me about that. Talk about the thought behind it and just...
Well, getting a tattoo is committing in a way where there's no going back. And one of the things that scared me most back living at my parents' house after, you know, that huge bust that I had, believe it or not, was public speaking.
Craziness.
I'm one of the many that would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. Thank you, Seinfeld, for that joke, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, if the way out is through and I'm uncomfortable doing this, I had taken the first step, I'd hunted discomfort. Well, now I need to commit to moving through it. And so I got this just random piece of junk mail from a conference that happened to be in Singapore. It wasn't to me, it wasn't anything special. They sent out, I'm sure, thousands of them to all sorts of people over the world saying, hey, join our conference as an attendee. And I hit the reply button. I said, why don't you have me speak? Best, Sterling. Now, I don't know if like the heavens opened up or stars aligned, or maybe it's just because at that point I literally had nothing to lose. But I get on the phone with the conference director and negotiate to be not just a speaker, but their keynote speaker at the conference.
Love it.
And it's the most terrifying thing to me. And when I signed that paperwork saying, you're going to pay me this much, I'm going to be there on these days, I effectively got a tattoo. I committed in a way where there was no going back.
Yeah.
And in the weeks and months leading up to that conference, I wanted to quit. I didn't want to do it. I thought I was totally inadequate. I had no business doing it. It wasn't like I was a speaker of any sort. I didn't have a reel or a web page or all the things that you look for from speakers. But it was that commitment that kept me going when it would have been much, much easier not to. And that's why it's become the practice in the book. Like, where and how can you commit in ways that are probably a little bit uncomfortable? Because it's that commitment that's going to call you forward into growth. Yeah. When the discomfort and the brain starts talking to you, and like I said, it's easier not to do it.
I think it's crazy in Singapore too.
I know. It wasn't
like down the road or anything. Right. It's like, we're going to go to Singapore. It's like, we're really going to do this the first time.
If I'm going to go through, I'm going to go through big.
Yeah. I think it's really funny though too, because you're just like, so Sterling, what do you do? I'm an international keynote speaker. Right. Well, how many times have you spoken? Once. Just once.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I did have some business.
Whatever.
But I couldn't send them any materials. He's like, what are you going to talk about? Can you send me something? I'm like, let me think about that. I'll write something up for you.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
Right.
Did you have a PowerPoint, or did you just kind of talk? Or
I did have a PowerPoint.
Okay.
I mean,
so you threw one together.
Yeah. So the third step in the hunting discomfort process, or the no matter what process, is to build a street king, right? Surround yourself with people that are going to hold you accountable and support you in what you want to achieve. And for me at the time, it was my sister, who's right out of school, and I recruited her to listen to my talk.
Okay, again, we got to talk about this word recruit.
Recruit,
okay,
right.
I feel like it was more like Big Brother guilt.
Right, it was like, give me a couple hours of your time.
Hey, Haviland, so going through a tough time. No, you're not doing anything. Like, yeah,
it was a little bit like
you're just out of college. There's nothing going on in your life. Like, come on. Yeah,
it was a little bit like that. Like, there was no strategy behind it. It was like, I've got to do this talk in Singapore, and I need help. Like, I really don't know what to do. So I
Haviland's like a senior in college. So what are you gonna do with your life? Oh, I'm gonna help my brothers out of work.
Yeah, she's like out of Georgetown, marketing major. I'm like, come here, I need you immediately.
Indentured servitude stories. Right. It's like, I love it. Well, but listen, no, but I mean, but literally, I mean, like I know we're joking about this, and again, like y'all two have such an amazing working relationship. I mean, and just like I said, I mean, she's such an integral part of your team. It's so cool how it. Again, I mean, we laugh at the origins. We always laugh at origins and stuff. But I mean, it's so cool just how it's developed and how y'all work together. So
yeah, I wouldn't be doing it without her. Still.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I offered her. I was like, "Here's some of the money from Singapore, or we can put that money into a ticket to come with me." And she goes, "You're an idiot, Sterling. I'm coming to Singapore."
Yeah,
and the rest is history.
How was Singapore?
Terrifying.
Really?
Well, first of all, it was 105 degrees and
you
like
went during the bad
100%
time.
humidity.
Oh, you went during the bad time.
It was middle of summer, wasn't it? It was unbearably
Maybe
hot.
that's why they let you come speak, because like we can't get anyone else to come over.
That could be. They had an open spot.
Quick question: did you wear black?
I did not. I wore a suit at the time.
Oh, jeez, even worse.
Right. Right. It was brutally hot. The air conditioning was highly insufficient.
Oh, gosh.
And I remember, like, even when I got there, I was practicing in the hotel room over and over and over again because I'm like, oh my God, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in the audience and I hear the words that I've been terrified to hear for months. Please welcome to the stage, Sterling Hawkins.
Love it.
And I had to just let go, right? I had committed. I had the support that I needed. I was sharing some of my challenges. But the fifth step in the book is about how do you love and let go at the same time? How do you surrender to what is exactly how it is? And that's what it took at that moment to step on the stage. Now, it's a good thing I practiced because I think I blacked out. Like, I don't remember giving that talk. Yeah. Like, that's how nervous I was.
Sure.
Like, anybody that's afraid to speak in public, you know what it's like. Like, no matter how much you practice, you get up there and the world starts spinning and it gets really hot and you're not quite sure what you're saying. And that was totally my experience. And so I get off the stage after my 40-minute talk, something like that. I'm kind of covering my eyes because I don't think I did well.
Sure.
I don't know how it went. And I see the conference director making a beeline for me. And I'm like, oh,
here it comes.
Man.
Here it comes.
Right. Like, are they going to ask for my money back or are they not going to pay the rest of the fee or whatever it was? And he looks me in the eye and he goes, Sterling, that's the best talk I've seen in all my years of doing this.
Love it. I'm sure that felt pretty amazing to hear.
Well, to be honest, I still don't think he was in the same talk that I gave.
I'm sure, whatever, Sterling. I'm
like
sure it was
it's
good.
incredible, but I'm
Yeah.
like, no way, that's real. And he went on to put me in touch with all of his conference director friends, and all of a sudden I was like, my mom was right. The way out is through. My biggest fear that I ever had, talking about my biggest failure in life, is exactly the path to new success.
It's pretty awesome. I know we're running out of time, but I did want to cover a little bit kind of about your no matter what experience. And I mean, it's not just about the keynotes, but also too, just about kind of how you come in, kind of have this full experience, immersive experience with companies and things like that. So please talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, no matter what, and Hunting Discomfort is not just some research report. Like, it's how we live our lives, and it's how we share with each other in the community and the companies that we work with. And so going in, it's important to talk with some of the key stakeholders to make sure that they're ready for this kind of message. Because frankly, it's not for everybody, and it's not for all the time. It's for when you're confronted with uncertainty. Maybe you're overwhelmed with options. Maybe you're not sure of which direction to go, or maybe you're just ready for a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Right. But in any case, they really have to be all in. And once we get that alignment, I like to talk with a lot of the audience members to make sure that I've got a sense for understanding not what the leadership has to say they're dealing with, but the people that are on the front line, like what are they dealing with?
Right.
At a very personal level, what's that look like in their life? How do they feel when they get up in the morning? And then I'll use all of that to really customize the keynote.
Yeah.
I'm going to share stories about no matter what and Hunting Discomfort and the whole thing. But that really is going to mean something to the audience when I'm speaking to them. And that's what we deliver on the stage, is essentially the no matter what message customized for exactly what that company or that audience is dealing with. And one of my favorite parts about giving keynotes is at the end, there's a chance for everybody in the audience to hold up their phone over a QR code.
That's cool.
And fill in what their own no matter what is about what they want to achieve financially, and their team and their company and their family and their health and their spirituality. Like, pick the direction.
Yeah.
But everybody's got a chance to kind of go on that no matter what journey with us, go through those 5 steps to achieve results no matter what. And then at the end declare, this is what I'm out to achieve.
I like it.
And then we'll support them in achieving that.
It's pretty awesome.
It's a blast. I'm grateful every day for it.
Book's coming out when?
June 21st.
June 21st. Book
Pre-orders are open now, though.
Okay. Where can they pre-order it?
HuntingDiscomfort.com will have all the bookstores. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, both
So it's
books.
all those. Perfect.
Anywhere where they sell great books, it should be.
Cool. Well, listen, Sterling, I appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
It's been
Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
It's
It
been
really,
fun.
it really
It's been
has
fun.
been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
We've been called the most fun podcast out there.
Yeah. Wait till part 2.
Wait till part 2. Hey, man, thanks so much. Good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Everyone out there, thanks so much for listening. For more information on Sterling, just go to our website, www.executivespeakers.com, where you can see speech topics, bio, video, and anything else you may need on Sterling. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.